Hello everyone, I'm Dontae. This is Dontae Dakara, but this video, well, if you're listening, this audio is Didactic, an opportunity to have conversations where we can learn something, maybe about ourselves, maybe about Japan, but I'm all about that learning thing, part of being a teacher. Anywho, I also created this just because I wanted an opportunity to have long-form conversations, and I thought that this would be a great chance to bring in guests where we can talk about a number of different things. But I digress. Another D. Didactic. Dontae Dakara. Digress. Anyway, today's video is about jobs in Japan and a number of different topics therein. So I hope if you're interested, you'll watch this entire video. And if you can't finish the video, then maybe you'll like to see it in a podcast. And if so, let me know below and we'll see what we can do about getting it over to the platform that you like to use. Without further ado, let's get into it. Hey everyone, I'm Dontae, and this is Dontae Dakara, and I have a special guest. Will you please introduce yourself?
Hi everybody, I'm Francine, I'm from Jamaica, and I'm really happy to be on Dontae's channel talking about good stuff today. So yeah, without further ado, let's just jump into it.
So if you haven't already, like, subscribe, and all that jazz. I'm a teacher expat vet based out of Tokyo, Japan, and today we're going to be talking about jobs. And as people are coming into Japan, and Japan, of course, is open again, there are many people that are not just looking for a job getting into Japan, but they're trying to transition to new jobs. They're already here and they're trying to find something new. And so we wanted to take some time to chat about maybe you're a teacher and you want to transition to a different kind of teaching job, or maybe you're transitioning from a corporate world and you want to do something less stressful, or maybe you're transitioning from a teacher into something more corporate, something into marketing and things like that. We want to give you some experiences, some tips, and then perhaps after this video, you'll feel equipped enough to venture out into a new position.
Right, very competent and confident that you'll get the job.
So before we get started, let's give our experiences working in Japan. So how long have you lived and worked in Japan?
I've worked in Japan for 11 years. 11 years with Interact. 7 years with Berlitz. And I've also have jobs with other companies, 2 other companies. So I work with 4 different companies.
Okay, wow.
Teaching English in all of them in different ways.
So you said you were with Interact for 7?
For 10 years.
For 10 years. So 11 years with Interact, but 4 of those years, 4 of those years Berlitz.
7.
So there was overlap?
Yeah, 7 with Berlitz.
7 with Berlitz, and so it overlapped.
Overlapping.
Wow. So how did that work, you doing 2 different jobs? Were you, I'm assuming you were exhausted.
Not really.
Oh, okay.
Not really. I think I have a really good balance because Berlitz is like 3 times a week.
Oh, okay.
So I go there 3 times a week, and as a part-time job, you have to do like 20 hours based on the immigration system.
Yeah, and we'll go over that.
Yeah, and it's like, for me, it wasn't a burned out. I just go to Interact. Sometimes you have a lot of lessons and a lot of planning. Sometimes you have a very easy day, so you can just transition into your other job and like do a couple lessons face to face. It's fun for me actually, because I'm speaking real English here with business professionals. So for me, it wasn't like, oh, I'm so tired. It was more of like, oh yes, let's go talk to some people who understand me.
Okay, that definitely is a thing. It feels less like work when you're actually having real communication and not just like, hey, this is a pen.
This is an apple.
Yeah, exactly.
Repeat after me.
So like, no, but like I can completely understand. So yeah, that makes sense. My job situation is generally speaking the same. Like, I've been here for 6 years. I've worked for Interact and for the same Board of Education for 6 years. And that's been very interesting for me because I think before this, my prior work experience was working for the United States government in the military, and I worked for them for 10 years.
Wow.
So I'm big on loyalty, like to a company. Like, once I find a system, I try to create a system within that system that works for me.
Amazing.
So I think I think the one thing that was really important about what you said was that you knew yourself. You knew how you wanted to work.
Exactly.
You knew what you desired from your work.
Right.
And in knowing that, like, you seem pretty happy. Yeah,
Very happy.
Yeah, so like in that, like, and you will find that there will be a kaleidoscope of different emotions about work.
Yes.
Like, and I know we are both a part of different groups on Facebook.
Yeah.
And we see the happy.
All the concerns.
And the concerns. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And so, and you know, some people don't want to stay with one company forever.
Yeah.
And to that I say, that's okay. But I understand it's scary.
Yeah.
Like, it's very scary to change jobs. Like, I would say, like, I'm a millennial, so millennials are more apt to just changing. We don't care.
Right.
Like, we're like, yo, whatever. And Gen Z is even worse. They're like, yo, I wouldn't even take the job if I don't like you. Like,
Yeah.
so which I admire that. And that's not something that Japan did for a while.
Yeah.
Before the bubble bursted, and I'm gonna do a little history lesson with the economic situation here. Like, before the bubble bursted, the companies would take care of you forever. Like, you give your time, your 20, 30 years with a company.
Right.
When you retire, they take care of you until you die.
Right. Benefit package.
Yeah.
Everything is taken care of.
Yeah. Bubble bursted, and then we had the lost generation. Lost generation had none of that. They couldn't even get jobs. They did a hiring freeze for 3 years where they weren't hiring anyone new.
Yeah.
And then that caused 3 generations of workers to not get jobs. And if you didn't get a job in the beginning, you weren't going to get a job.
Right.
So, like, that created a system of really have-nots. And then after that system of have-nots, then the business started to evolve into, well, we're going to pay you guys the least amount we possibly can to get the most out of you. And so goes the occupational economy these days.
Yeah.
And you'll find that situation is still the same in teaching or a lot of the markets that foreigners have access to here.
Right.
So setting your expectations. Like, you're going to have to fight for what you want. You're going to have to find the company that aligns with your personal values.
Exactly. I think that's a really good point. Yeah, you have to know exactly what it is that you want, because like you said, the companies will say, okay, this is what I'm going to pay you. But it's up to you. Are you willing to accept this? Like, this level of work, this level of professionalism. And when you go into the workplace, you have to deal with a lot of emotions.
Yeah.
You have to deal with a lot of people who are nice and some people who are like not so chill.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
Some of the things that I see happening is like, okay, maybe you're at like one of those Eikaiwa schools. The student is probably running a little late. They ask you, like, can you stay in your break time to deal with this student? Now your break time is probably not paid for. So is this like professional? Is this what you want to do?
Yeah.
Do you accept this? Do you not accept this? You have to know exactly what you want and ask for it.
Yeah.
Ask for it.
Yeah.
For me, Berlitz, they told me like, so what is it that you want? I said, I want to teach adults.
Yeah.
How many days a week can you do that? I was like, okay, it's 3 days a week. Are you open to traveling? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, no problem. And then like further down, they asked me like, after I started working for a couple of years doing what I said I would do.
Yeah.
They asked me, hey, do you want to teach kids? I'm like, no.
I'm good.
I'm good. And like the question will come up a lot because it's about the company trying to satisfy their needs and make profits. And you, like, who can they use to do this? Get the most out of you for, little.
Absolutely.
Like you said. So it's like, know exactly what it is that you want and what you can do and accept only what you think is good enough for you.
Yeah, and I think that's something that's very difficult for someone who is like just so excited about coming to Japan and being in Japan.
Yeah.
You want to say the right answer to get the job, but the job is either going to be there for you or it's not. And I know that's really hard to just take that, but I know that you want to be flexible, but there's a limit to flexibility. Like at some point you're going to break.
Yeah.
Like, and I didn't want to teach elementary school. Like that was my big thing. Like I love kids. Like and elementary school kids, they're really cute. Like, oh yeah,
very
so
cute.
Over there. Like, cause I felt like the way I talk, the way I move, the way I teach, like it was more like older kids who are already ready to learn how to communicate for real. Like just like you like talking to adults, like I want to make adults. Like And so like I knew that that's not what I wanted. So when I got here, they're like, hey, you know, we have you at a junior high school, but are you interested in going to elementary school? I was like, not at all. I'm not. I have literally -5 interest in going to an elementary school.
Yeah.
And like they were just surprised. They were like, oh, like, okay, well, you just thought wrong. Like, but some people aren't comfortable with that.
Right, they aren't.
Like they just want to be here so badly. And to that I say, okay, know this, that when everything gets bad, you're going to think about that moment where you had a decision to make and you made a decision based on the company and not based on you.
Yeah.
So, like, happiness is a really difficult thing. Like, it's an elusive thing, and it's not something that's just a destination. It's a journey that you're going to have to continue.
Right.
And you're continuing to do this job, and you're continuing to be happy doing this job because you continue to make the decisions for yourself.
Definitely.
Like, the moment you deviate from that.
Yeah, that's when you start like, oh my God, I need a new job. Like, I cannot do this. I'm going to be late today. Like, I cannot.
And which perfectly transitions us into, okay, so you want a new job. So you want another job, or you want a second job. How did you find the Berlitz position?
So, to be honest, I went on Gaijin Pot, and I saw the position. I applied for it. I knew people who were working there in the community. I reached out to them as well, and it's like, hey, what do you suggest? I want to do Berlitz. And they're like, you know what? Just go on Gaijin Pot and just sign up. Like, that's what I did. So I did what they told me to do, and I got an interview. Yeah. Went to Tokyo, did the training, very intensive training, because Berlitz has a method.
Yeah, that's right.
They teach you how to do everything. It's like making coffee. You cannot go wrong with the recipe.
Yeah, you have to stick to their recipe, yeah.
Yeah, so that's how I got Berlitz, and very happy that I did it.
Yeah, so like Gaijin Pod is actually probably one of the leading job boards here in Japan for foreign job hunters. There's also a bunch of others like Indeed Japan, but that one's more vectored for people who can speak Japanese. Yeah. There's, was it Ohio Sensei or Hello Sensei?
Sensei.
Yeah, Hello Sensei, which is just for teaching positions.
What about Glassdoor? Do they have like?
So Glassdoor has something, but I think they're one of those sites that pulls ads from other sites, and it's not natively on Glassdoor. But I'm glad you mentioned Glassdoor because that is a great site to use to research any jobs that you see anywhere else. Yeah. Like, I would never tell anyone to take a job on face value just from what the company says alone. Please go to reviews or references. You can even go to YouTube. Hey, type in, how is working for this company? And I guarantee someone has posted a video about it. So, like, but yeah, Glassdoor is another good one where I think it should be on your bookmark of places that you should go when you're looking for a job.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of people, you know, when they're going into that job hunting phase, they're like, okay, well, how do I find exactly what I want? And there's kind of there are three main things that I think that people should look at when they're looking for jobs. Okay. Knowing how much money you want to make first and foremost. Like, and why do I say the money first? And this sounds awful, like, to a lot of people, like, oh, well, it's not always about the money. I agree. It's not always about the money. Like, I don't do the job that I do because of money. And if I was looking for money, I definitely wouldn't be doing the job that I'm doing. Okay. Like, the reason why I say the money first is because the money's going to dictate your location. Like, because if you've watched our part 1 video when we talked about, you know, money and how you need to know your zero, like, you need to know, like, that you can survive where you live or where you're going to live if you're going to move. You need to know how much it's going to cost to live there. Definitely. And by virtue of that fact, you need to know that the job is going to sustain you. Like, it doesn't make sense to take a job in a place that doesn't pay you enough to live in the place that you're going to work.
You're just like broke in the first month.
Yeah, exactly. And you're just in a constant cycle of being broke. Yeah. Like, so that's one. 2 is this job going to make you happy? Now there's the hardest one. That's the hardest one because you need to know what you want to do. Like, and like I said, a lot of people who are watching are teachers or want to be teachers, or they're using being a teacher as a vector to do something else. Yeah. Like, is that going to make you happy? Is that really going to be something that you want to do for a long period of time or for even a short period of time? Yeah. If it's not, then you really need to like look a little bit deeper to find like those deep cut good jobs, because it's going to be a little bit more difficult in Japan to find a job outside of teaching that's going to allow you to, and this is number 3, look at the language that you're going to be speaking in the workplace. So so like if you're not going to be teaching where English is usually the preferred language, now you need to know, like, okay, do I need to speak Japanese, or do I need to, what level of Japanese do I need to be able to speak to be able to get these kinds of jobs?
Right.
For your jobs, what was the Japanese requirement?
0. Yeah.
Like, and so you'll run a gamut from 0, and then I've seen something as much as N1, which I know one person, literally one person, who has an N1, and the reason is because, like, practically speaking, even Japanese people don't know the kanji that is on the N1 test.
Yeah.
Like, so it's so prohibitively hard to take that test that they're basically saying we want a Japanese person to do this job.
Yeah, definitely. That's what they're saying.
Yeah. And so you need to kind of be able to read between the lines on the language thing. Like, oh, you need to be, I think I see a lot, a conversational Japanese speaker. Like, what does that mean? Like, someone who's passed the N3, they say, oh, if you pass the N3, you're a conversational speaker. And then I've seen someone go into an interview, they have the N3, and then they do the interview in Japanese, and they walk out there like, I don't understand what that person said. I'm not going to get that job. I thought I was a conversational speaker.
Yeah.
Like, don't let the test fool you. Like, if you can have general speaking, if you can have like conversations in your day-to-day life in Japanese, then maybe you can take that job. But don't let the N3 make you feel like you're actual conversational Japanese speaker. So knowing your language level is so important to being able to find the job that you want.
Wow.
So
you're saying, like, if I want to go into like an IT company, or I want to do coding, like Code Crystallis, or something like that, like.
So the interesting thing about coding, like, and I've helped a few people get coding jobs. Like my hobby is like trying to help people get the jobs that they want.
Nice.
Like I like to like tinker with people's resume and things like that.
Right, Dante's your guy. Send your resume.
It's like, it's not it's a hobby for right now. So I'll do 1 or 2s if I need. So, but the interesting thing about coding is because coding is such a foreign dominated position for now. There's starting to be more coding in elementary schools and junior high school, so we're going to see a lot of native coders coming up here in the next generation. But for right now, there is such a desire for foreign coders that they're more flexible with the language, and in some places they'll even teach you Japanese.
Nice.
Like, so they'll give you the job because most coding is in English, or so it's like, okay, we'll take you, but we want you to learn Japanese on the job.
So we're gonna teach you.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
And those jobs, if you can find them, they're gold. Don't let go. Like, it's just one of those things where you just won't find, like, software engineers and coding jobs are really popular. They're also really abundant. And if you can find one that does accept your language level, just take it and don't let go.
Wow.
Just because, like, that's one of the major career fields. And let's talk about the career fields that are really buzzing right now.
Okay.
So you talked about software engineer, coding, gaming. Like, that's all in the same technical expertise. The next level down, I would say the big one is recruiting and marketing. So I think like 3 or 4 teachers I know from my city have transitioned into that career field. Like, I think in 1 year, it was like 3 people all went to headhunter jobs. And those jobs are basically trying to find other people who can do other jobs.
Yes.
Like, so it's like your job is finding people who can do jobs. And I'm familiar with this particular career field because when I was in the military, like, I did personnel acquisitions. So trying to get personnel and fitting personnel into certain jobs. So it's not a job where you need to have a degree that is literally in HR or something like that. It's the kind of job that you can really learn on the fly from, as long as you have some kind of business experience. And business experience is a very loose definition. So that's 2. Those are 2 major career fields. And then, as always, education is always buzzing. But the reason why education is buzzing is different. So, like, before, it was just Interact, Berlitz, and GABA, like, those,
ECC.
ECC. Like, those were like the big ones, and everyone was just hired from them. But what we're seeing more of now is Board of Educations having younger staff. And because Board of Education have younger staff, they have more people who are comfortable speaking English.
Wow.
And because they have more people comfortable speaking English, they're more comfortable doing direct hiring.
Yes.
So these are like the golden jobs for
exactly.
teachers.
That's the trend. That's what you want to get into, direct hire.
Yeah, you want to get the direct hire position. And there's a couple of different kinds of direct hire positions. If you permit me, I'll go into those. I'm sorry I'm talking
definitely.
so much. There's local direct hire positions that are at city Board of Educations. So like if you're in a small town and they're like, hey, we need some teachers, and you'll be the teacher for that town working for that Board of Education. And those jobs usually pay where the regular ALT job you're taking home somewhere in the ballpark of 18 to 19 mon or $1,800 or $1,900 a month. These jobs you're taking home $2,500 a month to
nice.
$2,600. Yeah, you're taking home almost $1,000 more a month.
A good chunk of money.
yeah, especially here with the economy being what it is. It's a very comfortable chunk of money. And then the other one is the prefectural board. So skipping the city and going right to the highest one. So you're going to the Tokyo Board of Education. Tokyo is actually a bit of a special case. Let's not talk about Tokyo. Because Tokyo is not technically...
Why not talk about Tokyo?
Because it's not technically a prefecture. It's just a special city.
Okay.
Yeah, let's talk about like Chiba or Saitama. For those those actual prefectures and not special districts, you can actually get a job at the Prefecture Board of Education, and then they'll farm you to a city like to work for them.
Wow.
And it's again a more secure position, and like because you've taken a test, you'll have to take a test for them and certify with them. Your job is a government job.
So the question is, what percentage of people, foreigners, get to do these jobs?
So those jobs are specifically for foreigners.
Okay, good.
So like there's this idea, in language learning, and this is an ESL kind of idea, is that foreign language speakers of English aren't as good as native speakers of English, and so they want native speakers of English in those schools.
Makes sense.
Whether you agree or disagree with that, that's the philosophy here. So to the best of their ability and with whatever money they have, they're trying to get them into the classrooms. So those positions, like I think in some cities they're called English specialists, in some cities they're just called direct hires, in some cities are just called English language teachers, ELTs. Like those jobs are made especially for foreigners. Your competition will only be foreigners.
Yeah.
So like how do you differentiate yourself from those people?
Yeah. How do I get in?
So,
if I want to get in.
Yeah. So there's a couple of things. Like for the prefectural boards and the ones that are going to give you a certification, and that's the key word, they're going to give you a certification, a special certification. You're going to have to take a test and you're going to have to do an interview. And your interview is going to be in both English and conversational Japanese.
Okay.
I can tell you more about that interview once I actually do it. I'll be doing an interview of this in June. It's all that I'm stressing about right now. It's why I'm not making a bunch of videos. I'm literally studying all the time.
Okay, good.
But like I know three people who've done that, and they've attested to the fact that there's not many people that go in for these jobs.
Okay.
They're so intimidated by the idea that they're gonna have to speak in Japanese that they're just like, I can't do it.
So they don't know the real tea.
Exactly. They're just thinking that they just can't do it. And so like I would say it would be better for you to go out there and fail at doing it, and knowing that you
not limit yourself to,
exactly.
You might just be lucky, or you might just be the one.
Yeah, you might be the one person that actually goes up. And actually what happened last year was like the Ibaraki prefecture, they're hiring tons of direct hire ALTs because they just have so many more people who are living there. So what happened was they had a hiring cycle in June and they couldn't get enough people. Wow. So they did another hiring cycle in October. Like, so you're going to have like prefectures that are investing a lot of money in education and foreign language education. So there are going to be tons of opportunities for you to do that if you have the bravery to actually just put yourself out there.
Amazing. So because I know a lot of teachers who want to transition or want to get some of these nice, cool jobs. The chunk of money, like, but they don't know where to look. Like, do they go on the city's website? Do they go on the prefectural website? Do they go call the BOE? Do they send a fax?
Yeah. So here's the thing with that, and this actually is a big barrier to a lot of Japanese companies and a lot of Japanese websites. Like, the websites are really poorly designed. Like, it's not that it's poorly designed from a Japanese aspect. There's kind of a common way that websites are set up in the Western world, and we kind of have like this idea of like where things are on a website. Definitely. And so when you click on a city website for, like, let's say like the city of Taito in Ueno, like, the way it's set up, you're like, I don't know where anything is. And like, nothing makes sense. Like, where is the job board? Where is the information about the trash schedule? It's all over the place. But a lot of the times, the only way you can get that information is from those websites. Yeah. Like, most of the time, it's going to be buried in those city websites. Like, and because you can't navigate them, you'll never find them.
Exactly.
So I have a friend who he's dedicated a lot of time to just going through a bunch of different cities' websites and pulling that information out, then sending it to me, and then I'll post it onto one of the teacher group pages just so we can get some eyes on these jobs, because it's not like the schools don't want people to have the jobs.
Right.
They have to work within the system that they're in. These jobs will never be posted on Gaijin Pod. They'll never be on Indeed. The only time you'll see like teacher jobs or these kind of teacher jobs on the Hello Sensei one is if they're private schools.
Oh.
So the private school jobs, like, they're going to be out there. They're going to be on Gaijin Pod. They're going to be all that because they have the money for that. But public schools, they don't have that kind of money. And the cities, they don't have that kind of juice. They're going to put it all on their city website.
On the city website. And you got to go digging.
Yeah, exactly. And if you put that kind of energy into it, I guarantee you're probably going to be one of the only ones who do it.
Yeah.
Like, so, especially if you're looking at smaller cities. The smaller the city, the more unlikely it is that you're going to be competing with somebody for that particular position. Okay. So that's actually like the teacher thing. That's for the teacher thing, but there's also some English speaking positions in Board of Education, in City Hall as well.
Okay. So at the city office.
Yeah, at the city office, and I kind of wanted to branch off a little bit on that, just because you were talking about the website.
Yes.
There are foreigners that are more foreigners are moving here than ever. So a lot of people want a liaison in that office where they can actually speak English and speak Portuguese. I think in my city there's someone who speaks German.
Oh, nice.
Like in the city hall for the school that I work at, there's a German, Portuguese, and English speaker there, and they're all different foreigners. Oh. So and they all found those jobs from just farming the websites.
It's true that you mentioned that, because I went to my city office like last week. I wanted to get one of those Juminhyo and something else, because the permanent residence qualification stuff. Yeah. And the guy, he is from the Philippines.
Okay.
Yeah. And he was just speaking all English, and I was like, oh, this is amazing.
Yeah, like, thank you so much.
10 years ago, it was like, kore.
Yeah.
I want this.
Yeah.
Or show the picture.
Yeah, exactly. So
it's good that you mentioned that.
Yeah, some offices are actually using they're using a tablet, and they're like calling. They're doing a face call to a translating service, which is another job that you could possibly get. But they're using that instead of hiring somebody too. So there are
quite interesting. How do we get the translation job?
So the translation jobs are also on the Gaijin Pods, the Indeed Japan's, those positions as well. And you'll see there's a language portion, and of course English is the default, but there's also like Spanish and Portuguese, and I think there's a lot of Korean and Chinese.
Yeah, I imagine.
And it's because right now there's a big push for immigration because of the birth rate falling. Yeah. Japan is having more foreign people come to Japan, but because of that, they need to have more foreign language liaisons to help those people acclimate to living here. Which means more jobs for people in cities, and more city jobs means a more secure job.
Right.
And that's kind of what you want to find. You want to find a job that's going to sustain you, because if you're working for one of the teaching companies like Interact, or not so much for Roller Gaba, because they have their own buildings and things like that. Yeah. That's cool. Interact will have like a situation where if they lose the city, you lose the job.
You lose the job.
And that's just not sustainable for some people.
Yeah, it's not.
So I think that like the more likely that you could find a job that is with the city or direct hire, the better off you'll be.
Okay. Well, that's good. It's good to know that there is information out there buried in the gold mine.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta go dig out.
Yeah.
I mean, it does take a little time if that's what you are passionate about. I kind of feel like people, like you said, it's all about what you want to do. It's like your purpose.
Yep.
Yeah, it's gotta be like a purpose. Like, what do I want to do in Japan? Do I want to come here and stay for 5 years and just teach at Interact?
Yeah.
Or like me, with 11 years teaching with Interact in Berlin. Like, do you want to do that, or do you want to go into a different company, different direction, like a more sustainable job, a long-term job? Like you get that benefit package with all the fringe benefits. Like, if you want that, then you're
gonna have to venture out.
You're gonna have
to dig. So like, and let's end on leaving. Like, so leaving a job and leaving a position and transition, like the actual act of transitioning and moving out. A lot of people are afraid of quitting. And it's actually quite difficult to quit in a lot of positions because there's a lot of money involved with it.
Okay.
Like if you time it wrong, you could be out, like if your place of employment pays, like contracted your apartment, then you're paying an extra month of rent and they're taking money out of your last check. Because they're double taxing it.
Right.
So if ever you're finding that you're going to transition out of something, I would say that 2 months ahead of time, you need to be planning that transition like down to the day.
Wow. The timing is important.
Yeah, like it's so important because we were talking about money in your video, like because you will lose so much money from the moving process, from finding another place. All of that is going to cost you a monumental amount of money.
Yeah.
So I think it's really important that you actually plan from 2 months prior, like everything that you're going to do with the company, with your home, with your city government, because your taxes are going to be involved too.
Exactly.
Like,
pension, taxes, insurance, everything.
Yep. Like your healthcare, like all of that is going to be attached. And so if you haven't planned that out, you're going to be like, you'll have that nice new job, but you're going to have a hangover, a huge hangover of everything that like happened at your last job.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to feel good about a new start when you're having to deal with
all the baggage.
So but both of us, we haven't had that issue because we've been working with the same people for a long time. But I have had friends who've had to deal with that issue, and it's been really mendoxai, really tough.
Okay, well, I'm happy you shared that because now that we know, then we will try not to have that. We'll time the situation correctly.
Yeah. So. But to finish up, I want to make sure you guys find her channel, because it has a lot of different information, a lot of different style of videos in mind, and I think that sometimes I'm a little boring, So
I don't know what he thinks he's boring. Why do you think you're boring?
Because sometimes people don't want to hear introspective stories. Sometimes I feel like I'm National Geographic Japan, and
and
sometimes
that's cool.
but sometimes real world information and timely information. I think that's something that her channel does so well, and she has so many different topics that really I feel like it would be worth your time to check our channel. So please tell them about your channel.
The channel's name is Francella Bella, and I'm gonna leave it down in the description so that you guys can check my channel out. Lots of things, like Dontae said, many different aspects of Japan, personal development, hair care, skincare, everything. So you can find me. So check it out.
Yep. I mean, my skincare is alright, but I might check out a video.
You can use some of the Sierra's new products.
Yeah, there we go. There we go. So, but I appreciate you guys watching. Again, there are stories everywhere, and part of the story here in Japan is finding a place where you're going to be happy and making the money to live the life that you want to live. So, and I hope that that works out for you. Until next time, I'm Dontae. This is Dontae Dakara.
And I'm Francine, Francella Bella.
Hi.
See you guys. Bye.
See you.